What could cause someone to seemingly vanish into thin air? I don't know, but across the channel we talk about some very strange disappearances. There are two approaches people are generally taking to explain them. One approach explains that these individuals must be making mistakes while hiking or had gone out fatally unprepared. The other details strange similarities between cases that don't make a lot of sense, especially since they repeat. Search dogs don't find a scent, sensitive thermal imaging helicopters don't pick up the missing, they go missing from a rural setting even when others are present. When this is the case, no sounds are ever heard to indicate that something is wrong. Massive searches turn up nothing and then the missing will be found in an area previously searched. It is these details that are making people question the nature of some of these disappearances. I've wrote up some of these cases from the UK that may have some similarities with those that have occurred in the United States. You tell me. David Hewitson went missing on the 13th of June 2011 and he was last seen by his family at approximately 2:30 PM on the day of the disappearance near his home address. David lived on the southeastern side of the small market town known as Pocklington, bordering many miles of countryside and farmlands. David was an avid walker and loved walking through the beautiful countryside surrounding his home, which is precisely what he was doing when he disappeared. Unfortunately, David suffered from Parkinson's disease, which requires regular medication as physical health significantly declines if the medication is not taken appropriately. After failing to return home, David was reported missing later that day at 7 PM. A massive search effort began that evening and the area was flooded with police and volunteers, the Pocklington Post reported. Concerns over his safety have been increasing and police have taken to the skies above the town in recent evenings in the hopes of tracing him. The helicopter was sent up on Monday at around 11 PM. After the helicopter search failed to locate David, the Swaledale Mountain Rescue Team joined the search and began to scour through the countryside and farmlands near to David's home. However, this also proved to be unsuccessful. After initially searching the immediate area around David's home, the search was expanded to places where he was known to enjoy walking, including the Kilnwick-Percy area. After an intensive search, no traces were found and at this point, David had been missing for 3 days. On the 16th, the York Press reported, "Police are appealing for a man who told a fellow dog walker of a sighting at Allerthorpe Woods yesterday morning on the 15th between 6:30 AM and 7 AM. The walker spotted a man matching the 62-year-old's description, but despite a search, no traces of Mr. Hewitson was found." Allerthorpe Woods is roughly 4.5 miles west from David's home and would have taken approximately 1 hour and a half to walk there. 5 days after the initial disappearance, David's body was found in a different woodland in the Kilnwick-Percy area at 4:30 PM by a farmer and his son who had been looking for a lost calf. The police stated that there were not thought to be any suspicious circumstances and a cause of death was not reported by the press. Kilnwick-Percy is around 1.5 miles to the northeast from David's home and would have taken around 30 minutes to walk. The distance between Allerthorpe Woods and Kilnwick-Percy is around 5.5 miles and would take around 1 hour and 3/4 to walk there. The Pocklington Post reported, Pocklington's lead police officer, Sergeant Pete Rogers, said that it was the largest inquiry he had been involved with during his 11 years at Pocklington's George Street station. The search included teams from across Humberside Police's 4 divisions, including Hull and North Lincolnshire, the mounted section, the dog section, an underwater search team, the police helicopter, CID officers, the neighbourhood police teams, the Swaledale Mountain Rescue Team, and around 20 volunteers who stepped forward to help search on Thursday. Somehow, David had managed to evade a large-scale search effort including thermal detection-equipped helicopters and highly trained sniffer dog teams. Given that the Kilnwick-Percy area had been searched early on, it appears that David may have been found in an area that had already been searched. If it was David that was spotted at Allerthorpe Woods, how did he manage to make it all the way to the Kilnwick-Percy area without being spotted? I can only assume that must have been a misidentification, otherwise it doesn't make sense. This was a very frustrating and upsetting disappearance that ended in tragedy, and it's unclear exactly what took place. Now, let's examine another, except this time let's go to the North York Moors National Park. "68-year-old Barbara Colling was a retired teacher and went missing on January the 28th, 2013. Barbara resided in the market town of Helmsley, which is surrounded by many miles of countryside and farmlands on all sides, with the North York Moors National Park being to the north. Barbara was last seen on the 28th of January walking on the B1257 near Newgate Bank. Her body was found around 2 weeks later on February the 13th at 10:45 am. Barbara suffered with dementia and moderate Alzheimer's disease, but according to her carer, Ruth, she was determined to live an independent life. Ruth visited Barbara's home on January the 28th, but she wasn't there. Ruth said that this was not unusual as Barbara went for frequent walks. Ruth said that she used to go for 20 to 40-minute walks, sometimes she used to go to her late husband's grave. She had never gone missing previously when she went for walks, and we had never had to go looking for her before. The GazetteHerald.co.uk reported, Alistair Barker, a registered mental health nurse, said Mrs. Colling had been referred to him by her family doctor for assessment. He described her as a very pleasant, shy lady. He said dementia sufferers could just wander off and not know where they were, but it had never happened before in Mrs. Colling's case. Otherwise, her family, who had paid for an extensive package of care that went way beyond normal, would have taken steps to prevent it, he added. Barbara's body was found in the Moors National Park near the very rural village of Hornby by a gamekeeper who was out checking his traps. From Helmsley, this is a distance of around 6.5 miles and would have taken around 2 hours and 15 minutes to complete the walk there. According to timeanddate.com, the weather that day was sunny and cloudy, and the temperature hovered between 4 and 9 Celsius, with winds ranging from 15 to 25 miles per hour throughout the day. The coroner stated that Barbara had gone out well equipped for walking. This suggests that Barbara understood that it was cold and dressed for the weather appropriately. Consultant pathologist Dr. Muser said that the cause of death was unascertained and wasn't quite sure exactly how Barbara had passed. But after being pressed by the coroner, said that, on the balance of probabilities, she had died from hypothermia because of the extreme weather conditions. The search effort for Barbara was fairly large and consisted of over 130 volunteers alongside the police, National Park Rangers and the Cleveland Mountain Rescue Team. Thermal imaging equipped helicopters were also out searching for Barbara but never found her, and given that the search started within 1 hour and 15 minutes of being missing, I find the fact that she couldn't be located somewhat strange. It's unclear how she managed to evade the searchers and the thermal imaging equipped helicopters. Let's examine a couple more missing person cases from the same national park. Stefan Gibson went missing while hiking in the North York Moors National Park. He was last seen on Wednesday the 11th of November 2015 at 4 PM by the group he had been out hiking with. Despite being 73, Stefan was very fit for his age and went on regular hikes and knew the area well. On this particular day, the moors were hit with heavy fogs and Stefan had gotten separated from the group while walking along a footpath between the small village of Lastingham and the Chimney Bank. It's unclear exactly how Stefan managed to get separated from the other hikers, but the group did not report hearing anything that would indicate Stefan had gotten into any kind of trouble. Stefan was reported missing at 7 PM that evening when he did not return to his vehicle. The search for Stefan was massive and the initial search went on for 30 hours straight. Many mountain rescue teams were out looking for him, including teams from Scarborough, Rydale, Cleveland and Swaledale, but despite searching for a lengthy amount of time, Stefan was not located. The teams were joined by the thermal imaging equipped Coast Guard helicopter, and after failing to detect him, the Royal Air Force got involved and provided air support, which also failed to locate Stefan. This was a desperate search that provoked a simply unbelievable response, and it's very strange that Stefan managed to somehow evade all of the searchers and thermal imaging equipment. The Search and Rescue Dog Association also got involved from across the country, and it was simply astonishing that nobody could locate this man. On the 14th of November, 3 days after Stefan went missing, he was found east of Lastingham and south of the moors near the village of Cropton. It's unclear precisely where Stefan's body was found, but Cropton is not inside the national park but is to the south and surrounded by countryside with woodlands to the north. I do not know how long Stefan had been deceased and could not find any comments made in regards to a cause of death. After getting lost, why did Stefan not shout to allow the group to locate him? If Stefan was found near Cropton, why couldn't he make it back to the village? Could Stefan's body have been placed there after his passing? How did he manage to evade thermal imaging equipment, search dogs, and many search and rescue teams scouring the area for him for 3 days? Stefan's disappearance was highly unusual and doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, here's another. On the 13th of December 2015, the Scarborough News reported, the brother of an intelligent and adventurous Scarborough man who went missing after going hiking in the North York Moors said today his family was extremely anxious about his disappearance. 38-year-old Kieran Chapman was an avid hiker, and his family believed that he set out for a long-day hiking trip starting at Harwood Forest, but he never returned. Kieran's car was found on December the 2nd, and his mobile phone was found lying on the bonnet of the car. It is thought that he started his hike a few days before the discovery of his car, potentially on the 29th of November. The authorities initially believed that Kieran may have gone hiking on the moors, and his brother stated his disappearance is totally out of character and we are extremely anxious about his failure to contact his family. After an unsuccessful search by authorities, the Scarborough and Rydale Mountain Rescue Team were called in to assist with the search the following day. Not a single trace as to Kieran's whereabouts was found, and the search was stood down 3 days later. Law enforcement began to suspect that Kieran may have set off with the intention of not coming back, though Kieran's brother swiftly disputed this and told the Yorkshire Post, "It was fairly obvious to us that the police suspected Kieran had done something to himself, despite our protest that, although a bit of a loner, he was level-headed, happy and about as far away from that as you might imagine." Nothing has ever been found to suggest that this was actually the case, despite a police search of Kieran's property in Scarborough. Kieran is a keen hiker. We strongly believe that this was the reason he was in Harwood Dale. We also believe that he would never leave his car unattended for more than one night. We believe that he embarked upon an all-day hike and something untoward, an accident, a heart attack, etc. has happened to him, and he is lying somewhere on the North York Moors severely incapacitated or after 13 days unattended, dead. Inspector Graham Hinman of North Yorkshire Police told the Yorkshire Post, "In the case of Kieran Chapman, police teams have conducted a number of searches within a radius surrounding Mr. Chapman's last known position, which is where his car was found in the area of Harwood Dale. The searches have been extensive and police have been assisted by the Scarborough and Rydale Mountain Rescue Team, the Royal Air Force Mountain Rescue Team and the NPAS helicopter. Ground searches have been challenging despite difficult terrain, harsh weather conditions and reduced daylight hours. However, police and agencies have been relentless in their efforts to find Kieran." It seems to me that after Kieran's family complained, the police enhanced the search effort. Police dogs also got involved in the search, but they failed to pick up his scent. On the 21st of December, the Scarborough News added, "The Ministry of Defence is even understood to have assisted." I have personally never heard of the Ministry of Defence being involved in any civilian missing persons case before. Did they suspect something? If this was the case, the press was never made aware, and the extent of their involvement is largely unknown. Kieran's body was found 5 months later on May the 3rd, 2016 by a couple who were out walking their dog in a secluded area of Harwood Dale. They first thought that their dog was sniffing a pile of clothing, but came to the realization that it was in fact a body. Kieran was in possession of a backpack and a digital camera with photos of himself on it. Forensic pathologist Peter Nigel Cooper stated that the body was in a state of decomposition and had no broken bones or damage to internal organs, and no evidence existed of natural disease. Mr. Cooper said that there was a low level of alcohol present, but said that it was most likely caused by the decomposition. There was an amphetamine drug present, but it was not at a high enough level to explain his death, and Mr. Cooper ruled out an overdose. Mr. Cooper added, "I do not have a definitive explanation, but there is a probability that he died from hypothermia." Afterwards, the coroner concluded that it was an accidental death. Kieran's disappearance was highly unusual and out of character, as mentioned by his brother. Why did Kieran leave his phone on the bonnet of his car? Thermal imaging equipped helicopters failed to pick him up, and police search dogs failed to pick up his scent. Why did the Ministry of Defence take an interest in this case? This incident has never been fully explained. Finally, let's take a look at a very recent disappearance. At the time of documenting this case, it was a very recent disappearance. Cowhouse Wood is a heavily forested, very rural area surrounded by miles and miles of countryside and farmlands. 50-year-old Nicholas Harper was a trainee teacher working on a placement at the Archbishop Holgate School in the Science Department. Nicholas lived in Pickering, which is an ancient market town located in North Yorkshire. This is a journey that takes roughly 40 minutes by car, and the school is located around 26.5 miles to the south of Pickering in York. I wanted to make it known that it is unclear which route Nicholas would usually take, but shown is the quickest. I also want to note that I'm not sure what time Nicholas would usually set off to work, but given that the doors open to the school students at 8:40 am, it's possible that Nicholas would set off between the times of 7 am and 7:40 am, though that is a rough estimate given that I'm not sure how busy that route is with traffic, and as a result, along with Nicholas's morning routine, that estimate could be way off. North Yorkshire.police.uk reported on the 15th of February 2019, on Thursday, the 7th of February, Nicholas left his home address and was believed to have been heading to his work placement but did not arrive. His car was later found at Cowhouse Wood, Helmsley, and searches of the vicinity and the wider area have taken place due to Nicholas being a keen, long-distance fell runner. It's unclear as to why Nicholas would have taken this route to the school, as it is not the most direct route and means passing through the market town of Helmsley. I estimate that this journey would take around 1 hour and 10 minutes to complete to reach the school. As mentioned by North Yorkshire Police, Nicholas's car was found at Cowhouse Wood around 5 miles north of Helmsley, or in other words, the opposite direction of York and his place of work. I estimate that it would take around 10 to 15 minutes to get from Helmsley to Cowhouse Wood, and around 40 minutes to get from Pickering to Cowhouse Wood, which is roughly a distance of 18 miles. It's unlikely that Nicholas had planned to set off early to go for a run that morning, as he had set off to work wearing a three-piece suit. North Yorkshire Police reported on the 11th of February. Officers and volunteer search and rescue teams have been searching the area over the weekend with the help of police search dogs, drone cameras and the National Police Air Service helicopter. Specialist police search teams remain in the area today. The search effort did not produce any results. The helicopter in question is fitted with thermal imaging technology and could not locate him, and the search dogs were unable to pick up his scent. Nicholas is still missing and no trace has been found. Where is Nicholas Harper? I'd just like to take a moment to thank all of you that have subscribed to the channel and who share these videos, like them, and just generally show support. I appreciate it a lot and can't thank you enough. I'd also like to say thank you to my patrons for supporting me over at Patreon, so thank you very much for all of your support and generosity. And if you'd like to take a look, you can find the link in the description below. Anyway, do let me know what you thought of this one, and you'll find all of the sources and links in the description below. As always, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already, it helps me a lot. I hope that you have a great day or evening depending on where you are. Be safe guys, and I'll catch you soon. Peace.